Well, I believe we are live.
Mm-hmm.
How's the audio? Sounding good?
Sounds good on my end.
All right. Everybody, welcome to the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties we had. Internet sometimes just does not work out. So hopefully this goes good. If not, just bear with us. But welcome to the show. This is Just Huckin Around Disc Golf Podcast. I am Daddy Delp. And this guy over there.
Me, Josh Baysinger, Baysinger's Disc Golf Channel. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you all for all tuning in. Share this away for us. This is a live disc golf podcast on YouTube, but keep in mind that I am uploading this onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts for people to listen. So if that's more your way of doing things, then it'll be up there. Help us out on that end of things by going over to Spotify, Apple, and following.
Mm-hmm.
But how has Baysinger been? It's the first time on the show officially.
Yeah. I apologize first off, right off the bat, for the first week didn't quite work out, but everything's been good recently. A little bit of sickness in the family, the immediate family this week, but everyone's kind of getting back to shape now. And actually got to play a little 9-hole round with the family yesterday.
Where'd you go?
I went to Sarah Moore Green Elementary School in Knoxville. So it's just a little short course, little elementary course. And I like to do this thing where I'll play around and let my girlfriend, Amanda, and my 2 kids play basically triplets against me and try and beat me. They've not took me down just yet. I will say that. Amanda's looking and smiling, but
Oh, that sounds fun.
Mhm.
There's so many courses in Knoxville and Morristown and stuff that I had no idea about because they're all at schools and stuff. And that's something I want here.
Yeah.
Because that's so great for the community to have something for young people to go out and do, or just families like you all. I think that's one of the root ways of getting into the disc golf into the community is just having it to where a family can go do it, just like a picnic.
Yeah,
or something.
agreed. Yeah,
I think it's a great thing. So I want to play some of those courses. I've got to, so that we can actually talk about some of them on your podcast. Segue.
Yeah.
Remember that guy right over there. We go on his show every other Sunday over on Baysinger's Disc Golf Channel. Subscribe. We talk about courses around our area or that we've just played. So we run through different courses and just say what we think about the course and holes and what we throw. So make sure you tune in. On the Sundays, we're not on my channel. Same time, same bat time. All right. So today we're going to officially get into some of the topics I wanted to talk about last week. Now, keep in mind, neither of us are really super high level players or anything.
Speak for yourself. I'm joking.
I'm speaking for myself.
You said neither. I'm pretty sure you said neither. That includes it. I'm joking. He's way better than me.
I'm talking about myself singularly and in third person.
Okay.
No, so one of the topics I wanted to talk about today is sponsorships. I've had people talk to me and ask me about like sponsorships or what it's like to be sponsored or an avenue to get there. And like I said, neither of us really have any experience on like a high level sponsorship, but
Mhm.
more importantly, in in my mind, we have information that has to do with what would be actually applicable to a majority of people.
Exactly.
The level
Hmm.
that we're at. So if you don't know, me and Baysinger both are on the RPM team Tribe. You're on Tribe, right? Is
I'm
what
actually on Tribe and the Ambassador team. So, yeah.
what for the audio listeners? I made a smushed face.
Switch space.
um, so that is the ambassador is a step above Tribe. I'm pretty sure, right?
No, Ambassador is kind of like street
Or they
team, kind
float.
of promotion team.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah,
I
you got
just
the
knew that
static real quick.
magic.
There we go, fixed.
Okay, I'm sorry, audio listeners and video listeners.
Listeners.
Hey, bear with us. This is hopefully this is going to be an entertaining, funny
Hmm.
podcast as well for people. So, um, anyways, the level of sponsorships that we're at are the sponsorships that a lot of disc golfers are going to have an opportunity to get to. In
Hmm.
my mind, um, so, first off, I actually want to just open the floor to you since this is your first week on it. So, in regards to sponsorships, what do you think at our level is the most important thing for a disc golfer to be looking for or to be doing to get that sponsorship? Because that's one of the questions I get a lot. They're like, what's the best way for me to get into a sponsorship like that? So,
Okay.
what's your
Personally, I think social media. Honestly, if it wasn't for social media, the YouTube channel, I don't think there's probably any way I would have ever been on a team. Just really drive if you really are passionate about disc golf and love playing disc golf, then that's going to come through in your personality, the content you put up. I'm not the best player, but you can tell on my videos that I put 100% effort into the videos, the promotion of RPM, and honestly, just be yourself and stay true to trying to say this without basically stay true to yourself and still be able to promote outside of yourself as well, if that makes sense.
yeah, I can agree with that stuff quite a bit. Right now, I think social media drives everything.
Yes.
So, being absent on social media, you see that with the high level disc golfers.
Hmm.
They're the people that you didn't see 2 or 3 years ago are now on Instagram, like TikTok, Facebook, whatever. They're pushing it. They're on. They're
Yep.
everybody's getting a YouTube channel. Um, that's a very big way because what they talk about is branding.
Hmm.
If you have a brand, it's much easier for another brand to help you out.
Hmm.
But for me, what I tell a lot of people is too, because they're like, I hear this a lot. I'm not good enough to be sponsored, so I'm not worried about it really.
Hmm.
I hear that quite a bit. And I tell people you don't really have to be good. You have to be passionate, like you said, about the sport, but
Yes.
also passionate about growing the sport and like doing positive things in your community for it.
Hmm.
So I tell people all the time, I think one of the best ways, it doesn't always work. And just FYI, we could tell you everything we know, and you might not get on a team.
Hmm.
You just might not, because sometimes a lot of it too can be like a who you know situation. Sometimes you
Hmm.
might get an in through a company that way. But that's one of those kind of like social things too. You start intertwining yourself in a social community, getting hooked up with people, and sometimes you can get in that way.
Hmm.
But I think more importantly is going to be that doing stuff in your community. If they're having rounds one day or something, and the guy that's running it looks like he don't have help half time, offer to
Mm-hmm.
help. Or if you see something in a community, this is a big one for me. If you see that you're like your community doesn't have a lot going on, and you're looking to the person that does stuff, and you're like, hey, why don't we do this? Instead of just going, hey, why don't you do this? You just go, hey, do you mind if I run doubles?
Yeah.
You start doing stuff because you got people need to understand that there's not a lot in it for people to run it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to want to run it and want to better the community. And that person that's doing it's probably breaking their back to get something done.
Exactly.
So it's gonna do that. You've got experience on that side. I know you ran
Mm-hmm.
doubles.
Yeah. You.
It's anybody that's running tournaments and stuff like that. Tell them thanks and offer your help if you've got the time, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll go a far way for you because half those people too have connections with teams and stuff.
Right. That's kind of what I was going to say as well, to jump in there. Like, don't necessarily, like, I've hosted, like you said, I've done tournaments. I did 3 different tournaments. I did some stuff at Halo where I work, several tournaments there that I've helped with. I've ran doubles, charity stuff. I've done a lot of stuff. And I don't think RPM even knows that I've done any of that. So they have heard through other people. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it to think that, oh, this, Prodigy or RPM or MVP, somebody's going to look out and find me. Do it for your community, for yourself as well, because it always benefits yourself in the long run as well. You
Mm-hmm.
promote your local region, you're going to get more courses in that local region because they see that people are pushing, just like you, Josh. Like in particular, like you got the ridge in, and that's because of a lot of the work that you've done and Tim helping you up there as well. So
Yeah,
that, like, and also what works for one company may not work for a different company. RPM's not
that's
looking for the same thing Prodigy's looking for. Uh, MVP is not looking for the same thing Innova's looking for. It's different for every brand. So
yeah.
promote within yourself and have your own brand. I mean, this is me and you talking about this. It worked for both of us,
Mm-hmm.
and just stay true to what you're doing. I've always said I've thrown several different brands throughout the years, and I've settled on RPM. And honestly, even if I wasn't on RPM's team, I would throw some of their stuff as
Mm-hmm.
well. Maybe not 100% like I do, but out of respect for them, I'm doing 100%. But I would say personally, just try and promote the area as well as yourself, not necessarily just only yourself.
Yeah, and I like that. It's always good, and I mean this will probably transfer in well. I want to
Mm-hmm.
for sure also point out the comments that we've had so far. I apologize. We probably won't get to read as many of them as we have in the past. Past one stream, but I do want to point you all out. I appreciate the comments.
Mm-hmm.
We've got people in here from New Zealand, which is awesome.
Yes,
Got
Mungo,
Mungo
shout out.
Jerry, and
Mm-hmm.
I believe Marley as well
Yep.
would be. But we've had a Hype Man with some good topics. I've seen a topic in here
Yes.
about Paige Shoe. I did see she was leaving, and I don't know where she's going. She's leaving Dynamic.
Static spec.
And we should be
Fixed.
fixed. Oh my gosh. But sorry about
Internet.
that. Yep. But Paige Shoe is leaving Dynamic
Mm-hmm.
just to let everybody know what he's talking about on that. So I don't know my thoughts on her going. This is kind of a caveat, so bear with us. Um, I I would see maybe her going. I'm gonna say something like Innova or like it's either Innova or one of those open bag companies, maybe
Mm-hmm.
like Thought Space or something because they're growing. You got a
I,
thought?
I personally think, I know she shares a lot. She's still in North Carolina, correct?
Maybe
I
that might
think
be
so.
right.
I believe it's just going to be that store over there, another round disc golf, because I know they always share that. I think it's going to be similar to Dave Feldberg's situation with Infinite Discs, and I think she's going to be with the store and can throw whatever she wants. That's what I think.
That could be a possibility.
With her
I wanted
ties
to,
with Dynamic, I mean, it's kind of like the Kona Panis thing, kind of,
yeah.
going from Innova there, but with her ties and how long I mean, she even worked in, the Emporia shop. So,
Well, if I'm not mistaken, her dad is like a event director there or something.
mhm.
Doug
Yeah, and her
Bierkus.
mom, yeah, like working at Halo, I've talked to her mom on the phone, like at Dynamic, calling Dynamic Disc. So, yeah, they are big in Dynamic Disc. So that's why I think it's going to be more a store, and she can still throw, majority back.
Dynamic or something.
Yeah.
That would make sense to me. I did want to point that stuff out for y'all just so y'all get a little bit out of the live stream as well, getting your 2 cents in. But the caveat that I was talking about us getting into was from the sponsorships is now that we've talked about what we think you should do and stuff, some pros and cons to actually going for a sponsorship. Do you have any pros that stand out or any cons that stand
Mm,
out to you?
it's tough to think, right? That's a very good question. Tough to think
Do you
right
want me to
off
go
the bat.
first and let you think?
Yes.
Okay, so should I start positive or downside first? You think?
Let's go
I'll go
positive.
positive. Okay, so looking at the pro side of things, looking for sponsorships. So this goes hand in hand with me, goes hand in hand with your community.
Yes.
One of the big reasons that I ever started looking for sponsorships, of course, it's cool to be a part of a team. Yeah, it's cool to be a part of a team. But one of the things I was looking for is to have something that can support me while I can offer something easier to my
Mm,
community. Because our community, we had hardly anybody, nobody, no pros, no local pros. So getting that started, like if I'm running rounds or something like that, if it was easier for me to get in contact with a team and get like a discount or something, or be able to like somehow get my hands on discs that aren't going to be super expensive or
mhm.
something that I can give out at rounds or have times where I can give them away while I'm playing. That's mainly what I was looking for on the pro side. Another route of that is if you're young or something and you're looking for that pro or the pro for looking for it, you're going to be getting experience with challenging yourself because it is going to be a challenge, especially if you get on a team that you're not 100% um, experienced with.
Mhm.
So, say you're throwing an open bag, but you have a lot of um, Innova or something, and you somehow get on the Innova ambassador team, you're going to have to go all Innova. And that's going to challenge you on that way, and you're going to learn stuff. You're going to make connections. You're going to talk a lot at tournaments to people, and it's just going to make you better. I mean, when I was on the street team, I felt like it did make me better backhand because there was limits that I had. I had to throw certain molds, and I couldn't go to another mold I wanted. So I actually got better with backhand putters
Mhm.
because I was really comfortable with zones and harps, forehands. So I had to get better with backhand turnovers and stuff. But pros, I mean, there's probably more, but the one that stands out the most to me is that it's something you can help your community with.
I agree.
But um, cons, it's just going to flip over. So the con is if you're really low level. Now there are going to be different people, and it probably won't apply to it. Like you got people like Gannon Burke,
Mhm.
super young, gets a high level sponsorship early.
Mhm.
Not a whole lot of cons other than he's just going to be limited to his bag, and he loves Prodigy, so I don't know that he feels limited. But that is going to be a thing if you're super low level, but you're getting into a sponsorship because you are promoting disc golf a lot in your community. Um, I
Sorry.
just,
There's a
I
loud truck
just
coming
heard
up my
that.
street.
I thought it was a dryer or something. Sorry about that. No, that surprised me. It's I lost track of my train of thought on that one whenever it happened.
Because of the train that just went by.
Yeah, because of the train. Um,
Statics back, real quick.
what was I? Do you remember what I said last? I'm
Uh,
old.
that
We're
truck
both
was
old.
loud. That's what I remember.
We're both old.
We're both old. I'll just cut in and just say, honestly, pros and cons. I would almost directly mimic what you were saying. The cons are, yes, you can definitely kind of pigeonhole yourself into something and not be comfortable with stuff. And
Yeah,
is that what you? Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's what I was getting to. Yeah, I
Hmm.
believe what I was going to say is that you're in a spot to where you're getting sponsored because you're doing stuff in your community, and then
Hmm.
you accept that sponsorship, and then all of a sudden your bag is limited to what you
Yes,
can do. So there is a chance whenever you first do take a sponsorship, you might not play as good
right.
as you're used to because you're not comfortable with all the molds.
Hmm.
There's a thing is like a sponsorship. I can't remember what the saying was, but it's basically bag swap, like drought almost.
Hmm.
Like you might be been doing really good or something like that. Then all of a sudden you change like 6 molds in your bag,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden you're throwing shots to the right and to the left, and it's going to be that season to where you're going to have to hammer if you want to get good at it. Practice field work to learn those discs. So that's the big con. I
Right.
think on my side, you're limiting yourself on that side when you don't really have to.
Hmm.
So it's a choice kind of that you can make, and like I said, that's one of those things too that can make you better
True.
in the end game
Very
because you're going to learn how to learn discs really quick, and you'll eventually get to a point too. If you level up, you can fill a disc and kind of get an idea from what other people are throwing it or have thrown it, what it's going to do. But that's the big con. If that
true.
was
Hmm.
where you were going with it, that's where I was going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty close. I mean, so just briefly, I'll say, when I first got on Team RPM, start of I think last year, my first tournament that I was going to play, I had a tournament scheduled, and I had, I think, two, maybe three RPM discs in my bag, and I had announced that I was on the RPM team. Well, I was ready for the tournament. It was the next day or it was the day before that tournament is when my stuff came in, and I couldn't go out. I worked until 5, so I didn't have a lot of time. So my only practice, and I wanted to do a full RPM bag just out of respect because I was wearing their logo on my back. And so my first tournament with all RPM, I learned those discs that morning before the tournament. And honestly, I didn't shoot. I mean, I showed a little bit worse than what I normally do at that courses at Franklin Reno, but I really surprised myself because I didn't shoot way off. I was
Yeah.
expecting this is going to be a huge drop because it's new, but I was able to quickly find molds that I was super comfortable with and just stick with those. So while you can pigeon yourself down into a hole like that, if you just stick with what you're comfortable with, then you can get yourself out of that quickly.
Yeah. And I mean, another pro to that too is that you're not going to be, you're going to get to a point too where you're not really going to question what you're going to
Right.
throw.
Exactly.
You're going to step up to something. You're going to be like, I have a disc that does that.
Hmm.
You're not going to have this whole list of stuff that's going to be. I can't get my other hand in the picture. Uh, there's not going to be like 18 different drivers that do what you're wanting to do, and you got to pick one. You
Hmm.
got to go like, there's this run of this disc, or there's this whole mold that will do this, and that's the
Right.
shot you're going to give your step up, and you're going to go, that's this disc. That's
Hmm.
this disc. It's not. You're not going to be carrying unless you're carrying multiple of the same disc in your bag.
Hmm.
So that is a pro. Like you learn your bag, and it becomes just second nature. You step up and you go, "That's this."
Right. I would say one more con, just while we're on the subject of the cons, is like, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about Adam Stanton. He's a great guy. I really like him. He's on the Prodigy team, but when he does the tournaments around, like his packs are always Prodigy. Me
Yeah,
throwing RPM, I don't want a Prodigy disc. I'm not trying to sound rude, not trying to say anything negative about Prodigy. I just don't want them. So I mean, I have it in my room still, and that was
hmm,
from the tournament I'm talking about last year.
yeah,
That I plan on eventually maybe doing a disc review and just giving it away. But that's another thing I can see is if and I'm not saying just Prodigy, say Innova, say Discraft or whatever, and you're getting at your tournaments, obviously you want to support your brand, but not everybody's going to like that brand. And so, like if you or I were to host an RPM tournament or host, just say a tournament, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily RPM tournament, we're going to get more than likely RPM stuff. Well, there's not as many people throw RPM around here, so it would be kind of tricky. So that's part of the cons as well.
Yeah, and that is a good point that I hadn't remembered. But when I was on the street team, I was playing AM a lot. Still, I was playing advanced,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something that was just everybody was always walking around like, "Well, I got 2 discs," and I was like, "Well, I got 2 discs that I can't throw for
Mm-hmm.
my players pack because it would be like dynamic discs." Because at the
Right.
time, I think like Tim was running a lot of tournaments, and it was either dynamic discs, or like I'd go to one and you'd get Discraft or something, and I'd be like, well, I walked around tournaments multiple times practicing for the first round and sold my players pack for cheaper than what they should be
Yeah.
because I can't throw them, and all they were going to do is come and sit. And if I showed you to the right of me, you'll see remnants of that. I
Yeah.
got a lot of discs just sitting around, and I get my wife looking at
Yeah.
me.
Same. And I agree with Hyperman. I see his comment. He said that goes for anyone sponsored or not. I 100% agree. Statics back also, by the way. But yeah, I agree because, I mean, and that's honestly just the human side of us as natural complainers. Like, if we get say you throw all Innova stuff and you throw destroyers and you love it, and they have wraiths at the tournament stamped wraiths, you're gonna be like, well, is it not a destroyer? And that's just human nature. So
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, you kind of do pigeonhole yourself, but he's right. I mean, that's anything. I will
Yeah.
say cons. I've not spoke on, or I'm sorry, I will say the pros that I have not spoke on yet is the cross promotion. So, like, that's what to me the huge thing is. That's why I ever even tried to get any sort of sponsorship. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
because of cross promotion. If you do good content for the brand that you're promoting, they're going to share that, and then there's going to be. I can probably name a few people here in the comments now that probably never knew about my channel until RPM started sharing my stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
also on the other end, there's people who may not have thrown like especially in this area, may not have thrown a lot of RPM, and now they're trying stuff out. I see people coming into Halo all the time. Tell me what's good. Tell me what's good.
Yeah.
And so it's the cross promotion is what is to me the main benefit of sponsorship.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, I'd got to the point to where I wasn't really like caring if I got sponsored too much or
Mm-hmm.
not. Like if the sponsors I was looking at were ones that were not going to be full bag, just because I'd I dealt with it for 3 years or something with Prodigy, and I had holes. And then, of course, as soon as I left Prodigy, they came out with molds. I probably would have thrown more, but
Yeah.
but I mean, one of the things that drew me to RPM too, beside of like from cool stamps and the names are cool and stuff too, was that I mean I heard from you a lot about it
Mm-hmm.
beforehand, but um, like you're talking about cross promotion and stuff, like a brand showing interest or at least being nice to you and stuff. Was Keith reaching out to me at one point
Mm-hmm.
and just offered me to try those Takapoos at one
Mm-hmm.
point, and I was like, I mean, that you're
Yeah.
going to support me at any level. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. That was before I'd even thought about applying to the team. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, that's just pretty cool because they were already just like, I see um, a value
Yes.
and at least offered something. That's the only
Mm-hmm.
company that's ever done that. Full
Mm-hmm.
transparency besides Throwmore Disc Golf.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a local store around us.
Mm-hmm.
Baysinger works at Halo. They've done similar stuff
Mm-hmm.
before. So, I mean, besides companies like that, I've never had a company like that. Ties into the last thing about sponsorships I was going to talk about was what to expect with one.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have this fairy tale almost esque expectation of a
Yeah.
sponsorship at our level, what it's going to look like. And I get the question all the time. It's like, do you get, hey, dude, what do you get whenever you get to sponsorship? Well, I
Hmm.
mean, I'm on a team. That's basically one of the
Yeah.
big things I get. I can get discs sometimes at a discount, or sometimes you might get a couple of free discs or something like that.
Hmm.
But my experience with a lot of them is you're going to get a discount
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
general, and you're going to have a point system. It's not going to be this, hey, dude, we're going to send you 30 discs in a box every 6 months.
Hmm.
Unless you're on one of those mid-level to high-level teams. I can't remember what the team is for RPM that would be.
Parliament.
Parliament team. So
Yeah.
that's a couple steps above what we are.
Hmm.
And the same thing on a street team for Prodigy. Street team is your bottom of the totem pole. You might get access to some stuff. You're going to have limited, though, access
Hmm.
on what you're going to have access to. And you're going to have to use points to get stuff, or you're going to get a whole almost like a wholesale discount to get discs, which is nice
Hmm.
if you enjoy those molds.
Hmm.
Because I mean, let's take the blinders off. To be real, what a company's going to be looking for is what you're going to offer to a company.
Yes.
It's not unless you're James Conrad, Paul Macbeth, Chris Dickerson, Eagle McMahon. They're not going to be looking to see what they can do for you necessarily. Yeah, they're
Right.
going to try to offer you some stuff, but being 100% real, it's going to be what you can potentially offer, which ties back to growing disc golf.
Hmm.
And yeah, it might sound a little negative, but look at it this way: if you are passionate about being a sponsored disc golfer and you really want to do it, this is a step that you're probably going to have to go through.
Yeah.
Anyways, unless you are just a absolute phenom
Hmm.
out on the disc golf course shooting 18 under every time,
Hmm.
whooping everybody, a low level sponsorship, making contacts is what's going to potentially get you to that level to where maybe you can get on that Parliament team for us
Hmm.
or street team. I think they had what was tournament team or something like that. It was a step above street team. So you just get a little bit more perks the more you move up
Hmm.
and stuff. So I mean, that's the expectation that you got to have. It's going to be. It's not going to be. We're going to give you all this stuff and all of that. It's going to have to be like a. The split's going to be more to the side of the company than what you would want it to be, probably.
Right. Well, and a lot of people don't think that you get on a team. I've got to figure. Yeah, I do videos for RPM. I'm not the only person on their team. You're on their
Mm-hmm.
team. There's so many other people on their team, so they can't focus on one person individually. As
Mm-hmm.
rather, like I love what Keith does. He focuses on me, you, Pat, Noah, and Steve, like in this area. You know what I mean? And he knows that we are all friends, or at least know each other, and can get together for stuff like that. So you got to think as well that, like you said, it's not all about what they can do for you, but what you can do for them as well, because it's a honestly a co-partnership. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's less of a sponsorship than it is a co-partnership, because you're helping them while they're. It's kind of the you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of.
Yes, and for audio listeners, we have a comment here. I want to point it out. Hype Man, he says, unless a manufacturer pays me money or covers the cost of a few tourneys, no need for a sponsorship. I have plenty of discs I like to throw available, and that's going to be one of those stances you're going to have to pick.
Hmm.
You're going to have to be that, and to get out. I mean, to be honest, to get out of that, if you are at some point going to get sponsored, you're either going to have to be killing it,
Hmm.
or um, you're going to have to at some point get some level of sponsorship that might not be at that, because there's a lot of touring pros right now that aren't going to, they don't even get their cost of tournaments, their attorney fees paid.
Right.
A lot of them don't.
Hmm.
They're having to grind to make that money to pay for that. They can probably get their entries in,
Hmm.
but they're probably going to have to pay a percentage of it or something, probably,
Hmm.
because that's I think been pretty new to be a common thing for disc golfers to get like tournament fees paid, unless you're like the top. echelon
Right.
of people. But I mean, just like Max over at Throwmore, he's told me before. He's like, there's not a reason for me to get paid or
Mm-hmm.
get sponsored because anything that a company that can offer him, he gets because his family owns a disc golf store.
Mm-hmm.
He can get discs at wholesale. He can get them
Mm-hmm.
anything. There's not a reason for him to get sponsored unless it's one of those things where they're going to pay his tournament fees or
Yeah.
something like that.
No, that's
Um,
true. I agree. I mean, he's right.
and I mean that might be a really good option for somebody to do if there is a local shop that has a team, or even a local shop that doesn't, and you're
Mm-hmm.
passionate about the sport and getting sponsored or something, you might want to go to that store and be like, do you think you have the pull to put it together a team and offer your help? And maybe that'll get you a foot in the door because that's another way you could have a sponsorship that you're going to be promoting them. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
close to you because it's one of your shops. So you're going to have more invested into it and they'll be able to help you more than probably what a big manufacturer will.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that might be a good way to go. I mean, I'm on Throwmore's team.
Mm-hmm.
They've helped me. They've promoted my videos. They're
Mm-hmm.
good to me and stuff. I mean, same thing with you with Halo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting in with the local disc golf shop is definitely a really good route to go because usually they're homegrown and they want to help the community. So if you're from the local community, that's who they want to sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So I
I,
mean,
I personally think this is maybe a segue into a different part. It's up to you, but I honestly think that this is the future of sponsorships is stores rather than manufacturers doing like what Scott Stokely's doing, Dave Feldberg's doing, Drew Gibson, Eric Oakley, so many different people. Uh, all those that I just mentioned, like Scott Stokely's got a signature Berg, he's got a signature Birdie disc, he's got a signature harp. You know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm.
different discs within different companies, but well, he's not necessarily sponsored by a store, but like Dave Feldberg, for instance, he has a Strata Kotaku. I mean, technically, yeah, he's part of the RPM team because he's got a signature disc, but he's
Yeah,
sponsored by Infinite Disc, so he can
yeah, he can do whatever he wants basically.
exactly. Which makes me even
Um,
happier that he chose a Kotaku.
um, no, I think that's a fine way to go. We can go with that topic and kind of transition into that as well as the future of sponsorships and what our
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on that is. And I kind of agree that I think the future of them would be going on the line of that. Maybe not saying necessarily that it would be store level or something like that, but I think at some point it would be beneficial for companies to have partial bag sponsorships.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think that would be because the way I look at that is low level pros. Um, a lot of times you see a lot of low level pros aren't sponsored, a very
Mm-hmm.
large amount. Like there's not many that are on the teams like we're on. Not super often.
Mm-hmm.
There are, but not super often. And I think a partial bag sponsorship is something that could attract a pro with less demand on them
Mm-hmm.
but still a benefit of some sort because they're going to be able to offer something to the company. They're a local pro, so they're going to be ones that people pay attention to do more than like a rec player or intermediate, unless those people are on social media like crazy. But I think that offering perks, say you want a player that's a low level pro, you'd be like, hey, if you want to, we allow you to choose putter or mid fairway driver if you want that slot to be our thing, and you'll get this. And if they feel like offering a full bag sponsorship, then be like, hey, if you take this, you're going to get these perks.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the choice to go full bag because I think at the end of the day, if you want a company wants a player to do good and be confident,
Mm-hmm.
then to allow them to have the option to choose what they throw is going to, at the end of the day, make them play better.
You're right. 100%.
Because going, I mean, to be honest, like going full bag one company, a
It's
lot of
difficult.
times is difficult.
Hmm.
Now, like on the trilogy side, you've got three companies to go between, so it's pretty easy to find a disc for every flight.
Hmm.
There's been a couple before. Now I don't think you can do it, but Innova and Discmania used to have the partnership. I'm trying to think of another company that allows, like MVP, Axiom,
Hmm.
Streamline. They have three companies to branch between that you can find. And the way that I understand MVP and Axiom, if they come out with a mold, it's meant to be like a step between another mold from the other company. So, like the
Right.
Envy is supposed to be a step above a proxy, and that's
Hmm.
on purpose. They
Hmm.
try not to repeat molds really. So, I mean, I think the partial bag sponsorships is a way to go and then offer big perks for people that take a full bag
Right.
or
Just
something like that.
statics
Oh,
back. There you go.
I,
I think dream goal, which we've talked about this since the beginning of disc golf. Dream goal would be Nike sponsorship. You know, Adidas, whoever, any outside of disc golf. The way I'd love to see it be done personally would be a big outside of disc golf sponsorship. So anything, I don't care if it's Arby's. Arby's is doing disc golf discs now. A large sponsorship where they get their main financial income from, and then a store that helps them get this brand's putters or this brand's mid ranges, this brand's this. They could do either in sections. Like I've heard in golf, they do. I don't know anything about ball golf, but I've heard that they do like a putter
yeah.
sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to that, and I don't by any means think that disc golf needs to completely mimic golf exactly. It is its own sport, and I think it always should and will be. But I think that would be a good way to go because, I mean, who wouldn't love, you see Ricky out here. Okay, so Ricky was throwing fantastic when he was on Innova. He was throwing great, but his putting wasn't quite as good as when he was
Yep.
on daggers. Imagine what Ricky would be throwing destroyers and uh, putting with daggers. Like,
That that's
you know,
exactly what I'm talking about. It allows your player to be as confident as they possibly can be on the course because they don't
exactly.
have to make a compromise.
Right. Exactly.
They get the choice in what it is, and I think that is the future. Whether it goes that way soon or if it ever does, but
Hmm.
you are right. Golf does have that. It's very rare, from my understanding, in golf that you find a player that would only have one type of club.
Okay.
So they'll have irons that are this brand. Then they might have like Nike irons and like Callaway drivers, and then a
Okay.
different putter. So it wouldn't be. There's not as many, I don't think, ways it can go,
Hmm.
but because each iron would be the same brand, I'm pretty sure. So
Hmm.
you would have a bunch of irons, but it's the same way. They kind of do have sections and stuff like that. Like I don't think, from what I understand, you don't ever really hear of somebody being like 100% Callaway
Hmm.
or something like that. So
I mean, and
yeah,
maybe that's one of the things that disc golf has purposefully tried to do to try and keep away from being so much like golf. You know what I mean? Maybe
yeah,
they've switched towards that just to try and have that one major difference there. It could be.
maybe. But I mean, I think I said this with Pickle. Um, People like want to 100% be like, we're not golf, but I was like, we have to acknowledge we are golf. It's
Yeah,
just we're just using different objects.
it's true. Yeah.
Like I mean, we are disc golf. Before disc golf, we were frisbee golf. Like,
Hmm.
golf is in the name. It's the same thing as putt putt. Putt
Yeah.
putt is a form of golf, but it's closer to actual golf.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we're going from a tee and we're putting something in something.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
mean, the way we structure it, I mean, but like you said, it might be the way they want to stay separate, but I think for the sake of players and companies, it would be beneficial to not
Hmm.
maybe be the exact way we are.
Hmm.
But I'll point this comment out real quick. It doesn't have to do with this. Hype Man asked me for my recent reviews which MVP Axiom mold blew my mind. I'm gonna have to just go ahead and say the Terra. It's a really good disc. Um, what it stands out to me on that disc is it is overstable. It's like a 8503. It's really beefy, but it pushes a lot. So it's a good wind fighter. So that disc. Just wanted to say that just because somebody commented.
No,
But
you're good.
do you have any other things on that part of the sponsorship?
I think probably the only last thing I would say about that would I while I do think that it would be great, like I said, to see Ricky throwing destroyers and putting daggers. At the same time, once you get to a certain level, I've noticed it. I've said this about like we'll say local player Alex Ferguson. He's an amazing disc golfer. He's to the point in his abilities as a disc golfer to where he could go. You know, he's on Trilogy right now. He could go to Innova. He could go to Discraft. He could go to any brand, and he's just like that. He's going to be able to switch it up because he's that talented.
Yeah,
And these, so it sounds kind of funny to say that at that top level, but you know just as good as I do, it's a little bit different plastic feel. It's just a little bit better feel in the hand. You know what I mean? Those
yeah,
little subtle differences.
yeah. I definitely understand that. And I mean, I feel Alex is really good.
Yeah.
He can shoot so good sometimes. I've played against him a lot, and I don't call myself at the same level really, but I understand what you're saying. Is that I can pick up a disc and I can throw it once or twice and go, I know what I can do with this disc.
Right.
I
Exactly.
know exactly how to throw this and get it to do something. I might not like it as
Hmm.
good, but I can do that. And I mean, there's something to say. Paul Macbeth, Innova boy, for how long?
Yep.
Switches to Discraft and wins Worlds the next year.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a point to where you get to, but the point that we're trying to make really is that it doesn't make it easier
Hmm.
for a player to play good. It just means that they're so good that they can pick something up and be able to manipulate it.
Hmm.
And the point we're really driving across is that it would make it less stressful and easier for players to actually play to their abilities as
Right.
if they had the choice. So there are players like that. It's not really going to matter what's in their hand. It's just going to be them having the time to learn it and
Mm.
throwing it. Because I
Right.
mean, you put a destroyer in Alex's hand, or a raider, or whatever, a rive. He's gonna throw them 550 feet either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So
You're
it doesn't matter which one it is. It's just he's gonna throw them that far,
hmm.
and I'm gonna go, why?
Oh wow. Yeah.
Why can't I do that? But
Uh,
so that's a good point on it. I think so. But anything else on that sponsorship topic?
I don't believe so.
So I'll bring this one up because it is recent. It kind of has to do with sponsorships.
Okay.
A hot topic.
Uh oh. You got a little
So,
flame emoji we can put in the comments here?
well,
That I wouldn't worry
you
about it.
get that. It'll shake my camera
Well, yeah.
because my camera's my iPad.
We'll
Um,
see. Let's see who's in here. Uh, Hot Man. Let's see him put some fire emojis in there for.
hot man. I know Jeffrey will too.
By the
Uh,
way, Hot Man. Actually, I'm going to say real quick before you move on. I saw his comment earlier. I didn't miss it. He's been watching my channel for 6+ years.
I saw that comment
That's
as well.
amazing. Thank you so much, Hot Man. That's awesome.
Um, so I don't really know any of your opinions on this player, but we don't have to go in crazy in depth if you don't want to. But Nikko Locastro,
Hmm.
we'll talk a little bit about him just because I've actually had mixed opinions on him for a
Hmm.
while. So most people should know now. Nikko Locastro is sponsored by Lone Star Discs now,
Hmm.
company out of Texas. Um, with recent news, I think from his suspension getting cut from a year to 6 months, that's probably what triggered that a little bit. But
Hmm.
what do you think about that? He's exclusive Lone Star, so not like Chandler Kramer or anything where he can throw open bag with Lone Star.
Mhm.
He is exclusive to Lone Star. So I'm curious is if they had some like weight in him going full bag because of his suspension and him looking for a sponsorship or something. But do you have any comments or what's your thoughts on actually Mr. Locastro?
Okay, yeah, I do, and I'm 100 hot man through the fire emoji. By the way, just kind of
Yeah.
show that. I'm going to go ahead and say it. My hot take. I am a fan of Nikko Locastro. I've been a fan of Nikko Locastro since I first started playing disc golf. I've played well. I'll say at least since I watched. I don't know exactly how long I've watched the coverage, but like I've been a fan of Nikko since like dreadlock era Nikko. That'll show you. Some of these people probably have no idea that he even had
they've
dreadlocks at one
they've
point in
only
time.
seen the memes.
Right? Yeah. So I have been a fan of Nikko for years, and I think personally, disagree if you want, that's fine. But I think that a lot of his, I think he's passionate in ways that a lower amateur player that's throwing memes out using his face, like he's more passionate about disc golf than that person will ever understand. It's easy to grab a picture of somebody, throw some text on it, throw it up, and get a few laughs and some, a little bit of social media hype on that. But Nikko has been at the top, and I'm not saying like he's been at the top of disc golf for years. Like he was one of the top
Mm-hmm.
three when I first started playing. He was one of the top three. It was Paul, it was Schustrick, it was Nikko. Those were like the top three, and Ricky was
Yep.
kind of getting in there as well. And I personally think that it's his passion is not. I think people see his anger, see his passion, and mistake it for anger. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to Johnny McRae, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
okay, so I years ago, no, I mean, I love Johnny McRae. He's awesome. He's a great
Mm-hmm.
dude. Whenever people used to say that on video cameras he would get mad. He'd have kind of the same kind of thing as of what Nico said. He wasn't getting in people's faces like Nico did, granted,
He's
but
he's hard nosed.
yes. Okay, there you go. So when I met
Country
Johnny
term.
McRae, I was I was honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of nervous because I'm kind of hard headed and hot headed myself. So I was like kind of nervous of what it was going to be when I filmed him. And I can tell you, after filming him for either 3 or 4 rounds the weekend and a couple of years ago, that man is passionate about disc golf in ways that most will never understand because he's been playing for so long. And I'll tell you one thing, and it's I know I kind of switched to Johnny rather than Nico, but it all tie in. But I was filming the final line of this tournament, and we were walking, and I was walking beside Johnny McRae, and he stopped. He's like, "Wait, you're here." He's like, watch this," and I was like, "What are we stopping for?" And all these people walking by, right? We were at Franklin Reno Park, and we're just sitting there, and I'm like, "What are we doing? Why are we waiting here?" And then all these people walked by, and then we were there. Me, him, and his wife were all standing there, and he's like, "Look, all these people walked by, and not a single person picked that trash up." He bent down, picked the piece of trash up, put it in his backpack, and shook his head and started walking off. That man has probably played that course 3 times in his life, and he's cleaning up trash on the course. So that's passion. You know what I
And
mean?
that's an ambassador.
Exactly. And that's what I'll say about Nico. It's the same thing. He wants full respect as he should have because he's been playing for so many years. And I that's the way I see. I think it's just passion. And I see what Jeffrey's saying. He did. I agree. He did make a mistake. I do agree with that, and he admits that. If he didn't admit it, then I might feel a little differently. But he's taken full credit. He's taken steps to. We'll see this year. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again.
Listen, I mean, I agree. Like, I've had a back and forth with opinions on Nico before, and
Mm-hmm.
before his last outburst, for lack of a better word, um, I was actually a pretty good fan. Like, I wasn't like a hype man. Hype man
Mm-hmm.
in comments. I wasn't a hype
Shout
man
out.
for him, but I was like, Nico is. he's fine. I was like, he's cool and stuff because I had seen improvements. The thing I had problems with were people that were trying to like justify why he shouldn't have been suspended
Mm-hmm.
in the first place because they're saying this is a first offense, and I was like, well, I can't
Mm-hmm.
give you the link to it, but I have watched Terry. Why can't I remember his last name?
Miller. Yeah.
Terry Miller coverage where he looked at Terry like this
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
and was like, "Are you gonna keep filming me? You gonna keep filming me?" And and they were like, "He's not been aggressive like that." I'm like, I've seen it on coverage
He
before,
has.
but
Yeah.
but with saying that, I felt like um, Nikko had made good strides
Mm-hmm.
because there's times where I was like, Nikko is just kind of like early on seeing Bad Boy Nikko early when I was because I've not watched disc golf as long as you, but seeing it, he already had his bad boy persona that people had given him and stuff, and I was like, he's kind of annoying to watch. And then I got to a point where I was like, you see times where he's like you said, passionate, and he
Mm-hmm.
seems really cool. And I think just Nikko, I mean, people's echoed this like crazy. He's got the persona. He's the one that's in the limelight for it. If he does
Mm-hmm.
something, that's what he's going to be seen for. Anyways, but I think that the thing with him is just like I felt like he was doing really good, and that happened, and it was maybe that he'd just been holding it in
Yeah.
a lot because you I hadn't seen a whole lot out of him. He'd been doing his tournaments, doing fine and stuff, and that was that thing. I think like you, it's a temper thing along
Mm-hmm.
with passion that he just does sometimes has that disconnect. I don't know how old is Nikko.
I think he's around my age. I think he's like 38, 39. He might, I think he's close to 40, but I don't think he's quite there yet.
Okay, I wasn't sure how old he was, but he just has this thing. What it was is like I like Nikko. He's just one of those people that if the temper goes, it's just it's hard to control.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sad to see it
Yeah. Oh, I
because
agree. Yeah.
up until that point in this past season, I felt like he had mellowed out. He was making all of his posts that were all cool, like he being collected, stuff like that. He was doing good. He was with Clash and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and I feel like he does have that mature level. I think he does. I think he's one of those people that just has a really hot head
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to it. That you combine passion with a really hot head, and somebody's going to pop off. And it's hard to figure out the right answer. Uh, I thought he should be suspended, maybe the year.
Mm-hmm.
In relation to disc golf, that's like a career killer almost. It seems like.
True.
So it might be a little harsh for the year. So 6 months is probably fine. He found a sponsor, and I'm happy because I don't want somebody to be bad. I don't want somebody
Right.
to have a rough time. I want to see him succeed and like go past that. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think you see times whenever he's making his posts, talking and stuff, he seems like straight up a legit cool dude. He just has those moments and
Right.
stuff. But I want to say, I feel like I mean Nico knows he knows what's going on. He does,
Mm-hmm.
and this is funny. Did you see his post? I think it was from today on Instagram.
The timer.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
hoping you didn't see it.
I want
So,
one.
so audio listeners, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to see this. I did upload this, so look at this. This is great, Nico. Let me
Yeah.
drop this banner so people can see it. Look, Nico posted this today. He's selling his own stopwatches. Time is ticking. Don't penalize yourself by
Yeah.
missing out.
On his website. Your static's back, by the way. But yeah, I saw that like a week ago or a week and a half ago, or something. I legit want one. If it wasn't $15, I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
hate.
was $15.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Nico, but that looks like a $2 stopwatch with Nico written on the front.
I mean, there's not even any
You know what I
words on the
mean?
packaging. It's just a black box.
Yeah.
This is my
I,
clock in a box.
but yeah, I mean, it's the branding. I'm not gonna lie, it's the branding is why it's going to sell. You know what I mean? I would buy one if it wasn't $15, but I'm not buying
Uh,
a $2 stopwatch for $15 because it says Nico.
yeah, and I mean, I just thought that kind of shows that like he's at a point where he understands.
Hmm.
I've heard people make the argument too. Is like everybody knows he takes a long time to putt, and I've heard the argument people is like he knows he takes a long time to putt. He's just I think it ties into that passion and nervousness that it gets to a point where he gets like people like that sometimes get locked up,
Yeah.
and it's just like I can't. Nick Jeffers, he was talking about that. I played with Nick Jeffers at that tournament yesterday. I was at, and he was talking about it. Somebody taking a long time to putt. It wasn't Nico, it was somebody else local. He was talking about, oh, it's like somebody else. He's like, it's like me 3 years ago. He's like, I'd take 3 years. He's like, I watched that video of me on Baysingers, and I said, just let go of it. Just let go of it. He said, and if y'all would have called me on it at the time, maybe I'd have stopped sooner. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that tends to come to people like that. It's a mental lockup because that's what he said. It was he couldn't let go of it
Hmm. I
until
agree.
until it felt right. And I
Yeah.
mean, to us on the outside, we're like, he has been holding that disc for a minute and still doing that. And in his head, it's probably been 5 seconds.
Hmm. Well, he did say that on one of the, I think it was GK Pro Skins or something. He said that they Calvin had the stopwatch on him. Have you seen that one?
I don't think I have.
You got to look it up. It's hilarious. Like Calvin had it. He put the timer on his phone and it went off. And Nico's just like, he's like, there's no way that was 30 seconds. He's like, it felt like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things. It's been so ingrained in the way that he does stuff, and if he gets in a certain headspace,
Hmm.
that part of his register is gone.
Right.
You don't know.
Hmm.
And I mean that goes for a lot of stuff in life. That happens to people like crazy.
Hmm.
I mean it happens to like this. We've been on here for an hour. I feel like we've been talking for 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Time is very hard to measure. And
it is.
unless you get your routine down to a spot to where you know and no matter what you're going to let go of it at that point,
Hmm.
that's about the only way I know how to fix something like that really. And
Right.
that's
And also,
probably what he's doing. He probably legitimately, who knows, he might set a timer on his phone and practice putt. Who
hmm,
knows? Set up a
man,
routine because that's the big thing about a routine because if you're going through it too long, it's no longer a routine.
right. And I'll say also that, a lot of people talk about his time. If he was the only one doing it, then I would understand. But I can tell you for a fact, I've filmed a bunch of pros, not a lot of the higher level pros, but I've seen a lot of that. I mean, it happens across the board, so you can't single
Mm-hmm.
out one person. Yes, I do think the what happened last year, or that was earlier this year, wasn't it?
Maybe
I
it
think
might have been.
it's probably 30 seconds ago. Who knows? But I think that, like, if he was the only one doing that, then yeah, single him out and make it known. But no, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people are doing that. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not
I
just
mean,
putts either. I've seen it on approach shots. I remember filming one round, and it took, I won't say the player's name, but it took him about 2 minutes to throw an approach shot, and I was like, I'm going to grab it and throw it myself for you.
I'm gonna grab it and throw it myself.
It ain't going to go but about 50 feet, but I'll get you going.
That's
Like,
great. I think that in itself too. Also, I tell people a lot of times that until the PDGA, if the PDGA is the governing body for the rest of disc golf, which who knows if that's going to
mhm,
be it or not, but until they can change the wording on how they have rules and clarify stuff, it's almost null unless you have a rules official to enforce them.
right.
Because I tell people all the time the way that the rules are written in regards to time is so subjective
Hmm.
to enforce that card to card, nobody's enforcing it the same way. Because it says once the player has a reasonable amount of time to address their lie and also what's the words? Establishing their lie.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere in the rule book does it tell you the definition for what establishing your lie means and what a reasonable amount of time is.
Mm-hmm.
So a reasonable amount of time for one group might be 30 seconds. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as it's to your time to throw, you should be ready. And the next group, you might be with some seasoned vets that are like, when you're ready.
Right.
And until that's a thing, I mean, I don't think you can really do a whole lot. They need to change the wording on some stuff, I
You're
think.
right. It's very vague, and I mean, technically, establishing your lie, you could be 60 feet from from where your disc is at, and I've established that's where it's at. I see it. You know what I mean? I know my disc from
You know where the disc is.
exactly. So I mean, you've technically established where your lie is already from just visually seeing it. So
But here's the thing with like establishing your lie and stuff too, because there are reasons to why just looking at a disc is not a good way of saying establishing a lie. Because I will tell you, just from my experience, I'm not a great player. I feel like I'm decent,
mhm,
but I've played a lot of tournaments, and for me, establishing my lie is going to involve me deciding whether I'm going to stand behind my disc or whether I'm going to use a mini.
mhm,
Because there are situations to where I won't use a mini because it'll put me closer to a tree,
mhm,
or I'm in an open field and it's easier for me to plant behind a disc than it is to hit my foot behind a mini and not have somebody be like, that might have been a foot fault
mhm.
or something. Because it's just mentally, landing behind a big disc is so much easier than focusing on landing behind a mini. And it looks
Yeah,
better. It looks better.
that's true. Yeah.
But for me, like if you're up against a tree to get your foot behind it, you're gonna have to put a mini down
Mhm,
sometimes. So I mean that comes into the situation. And then also like you gotta walk up and be like, what disc am I gonna throw? Or can I even step behind this yet?
yeah. What disc, what line, everything. I've seen numerous times. Just saying your statics back also, but I've seen numerous times where I get up uh, from walking up towards my disc. I'm like, oh, okay, well I've got this shot, and then once you actually get up to it and look at it, and you're like, no, that's not it.
That
So I've seen people, get up to where their mini is, and even walk past or where their disc is, rather not already marks your lie, but like get up to where your disc is and walk past it and look up the fairway, walk this way and check out the different lines. So has that been established? Has it not? Like you said, it's so vague, and I don't think that I don't know how to fix that, to be honest.
there's a good thing I heard Brody Smith talk about. Whatever people think about Brody Smith, I think he's fine. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a problem with Brody. I think he does a lot for disc golf. So I was a fan of Brody way before I knew what disc golf was.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, in regards to that, I was listening to him one time talk about a tournament, and there was a shot where, from where he was, completely blind to the basket, had no idea where the basket, where the thing was, or either it was somebody he was on a card with, maybe, and the person was like, "You can't send that person up there to stand to know because that's a point of reference for a
Mm-hmm.
throw." And then they were like, "Yeah, but I don't know where to throw. And if I are you going to stroke me for time if I go up the fairway to do that?" And then Brody brought that to a rules official at the tournament, asking him what he thought he should do. And that rules official told him, "No, your time wouldn't start until you went up the fairway because you can't establish your lie without knowing where the basket is."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But at the same time, who knows if he had went to another rules official if they had told him a different answer.
That's true. Yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing because that's illegal. You can't place your bag up the fairway
Right.
to use as a point of reference. You can't
Mm-hmm.
put that up there. So like it would be the same as being like, you go stand up there so I know where to throw
Mm-hmm.
or something. And that's what that guy was asking. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's very vague in the rules and not equally enforced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's the hard part. And that's why I was like, Pro Tour, it's getting a little easier because they can have people follow cards and
Mm-hmm.
be that awkward.
Yeah. I mean,
interaction,
yeah,
which is what happened with Nikko and ended up not good for him. But
hmm,
imagine that being another player too.
true.
And then Nikko doing that, and then they both have an emotional like stake in it, and then
Hmm.
they start fighting instead of it ending right there because
Yeah,
he's there to just well like he's there to turn just take it kind of.
mm,
And another
that's true.
player, I know many players that are just enough to where you do that, and then it's just going to be like, if you're not out of my face, I'm going to punch you.
Hmm.
And then Nico's probably going to be like, well, we're going to be punching because
Hmm.
he seems like the type of person that once it goes, it's going to go.
Oh, true. I mean, I do agree with that. Like I said, I'm a fan of his, but I mean, I don't deny that stuff. I see a lot of it as passion, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, and I know it's a touchy subject, but and I know I'll probably get some hate for saying I'm a fan, but I've been a fan. When I'm a fan through thick and thin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, like go back to Nikko USDGC, what 2018 or might have been 2019 when he had that albatross. Everybody loved him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody was the biggest Nikko fan then. But then as soon as something like this happens, no, 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 no. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm a Nikko fan. Yeah, he messed up. He's admitted it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Uh,
still a fan of Dreadlock Nikko.
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of owning up to it and knowing you make a mistake is a big part of growing. And like I
Hmm.
said, I agree. Like I never really I had a point in time where I was like Nico's just seemed like a person I didn't want to be around when I saw him in certain interactions.
Hmm.
But then there was times as I watched him more, I was like, he seems like a cool guy that just has a hot head
Hmm.
or something, or like you said, passion. But at the same time, like we said, you mix passion with a really hot head
Hmm.
and in the wrong situation. I see it locally all the time. I
Hmm.
see people doing that, but it look like they're about to fight themselves because they're
You've
so
probably
mad.
no lie, and I think the way I see that, you've probably seen that from me personally, because
Yeah.
I get upset. I mean, you know what I mean. I did this weekend playing, like I said, playing with the family. You miss a couple putts, and you get inside your own head. You know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I I was able to come out of it and end up getting a ace in that round. But
Shout
like I
out.
mean, it definitely happens. You know, I mean, I've had it happen myself, and I think that's why I can see it that way because I have some of the same, I call them personal mental problems myself. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why I see it as passion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I understand. Like I said, I'm still okay with Nico. Like I'm fine. Like I said, I hope he does good, and I hope he finds success at Lone Star and is able to become the person I think he really wants to be.
Hmm.
I don't think he wants to sit there and like fight somebody at a tournament when he's playing disc golf.
No, absolutely not.
Who wants to do that?
Right.
Realistically, it'd be like my dad's old saying, I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out or something like that. I went to a fight and people started disc golfing. Like nobody has that mindset of like you're going to go somewhere just to fight unless you're just disturbed, I think, because some people maybe do that.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
he's a professional. He knows what it is to be around the disc golf course, and it's just like you said. I think it's a lot of passion, a lot of um, high stress situations, and just a bad combination for people sometimes like that. But
Right.
I mean, that was mainly what I wanted to talk about with Nico is just him going full bag Lone Star. I think that's an interesting thing to see. And I watched his in the bag the other day. I mean, of course, he's got every single mold
Yeah, I saw that.
from Lone Star in the bag, but I mean that's a given. He's trying to figure out what's working. But I think he's going to be able to make a lot of it work because it seems like they got some overstable molds, and
Hmm.
Nico likes overstable stuff. I think
Hmm.
so.
That's another thing. I love that shot of his. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like that, just force over Anheuser, something you can tell is way too overstable for any of us,
Yeah,
and he just hammers on it, and you just see it turn, 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 and then it just flexes out. I love that
Yeah, and it
shot so
lands
much.
flat, and it
Yeah,
doesn't skip.
right.
I'm like, it's like me throwing a kiwi.
Hmm.
Now I can throw it like a 90-degree anhyzer, and it's gonna hyzer out and skip. Still, he could probably throw it and get it to land flat. But
Uh,
no, I mean, anything else on the Nikko situation you think that you can think of?
I don't really have anything else. Like I said, I've kind of reiterated several times about. I mean, I'm a fan through thick and thin. I mean, he'll get back, and I think he'll prove this year that his passion is going to serve him well.
His passion will trump his temper.
Hopefully, yeah, we'll see.
That's what I'm hoping. I
Hmm.
think he had it under control until that one situation.
Yeah,
Because
I
he had
agree.
done good all the way up until that. Well, we're coming to the end of the podcast. I went a little bit longer than what I thought, but I want to end on a little question that we both will answer.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite shot in disc golf? Whether it's you to throw or you to watch. Like when you think of disc golf, what is the purest shot? The one that just makes you just go, "Oh my gosh, I want to do that," or "I can't believe I just did that."
Okay, I'm going to say one for myself and one for that I cannot do. Is that okay? I give two.
Yes, yes, that's fine.
Okay. So the one for me personally is just a hyzer flip, where I personally being left-handed take something understable and throw it on intentionally on the right side, get it to flip up, turn over, and then get a little bit of fade at the end. That's for me what I love to see in disc golf, and even ones that like finish to the left. Even as me as a lefty, letting it even finish to the left. I love that kind of shot. A hyzer flip all day for me. And I'll say the shot that I've never been able to do myself, and it's kind of a you may laugh because I don't know how to explain the shot that much. It seems so simple when I watch it. James Snappy Cole, right?
Yeah,
So he does this thing, and I think Dickerson does it. I've seen a few people do it, but the person most notably I've seen is Snappy, and he'll do this thing where he's like, say 120 feet, 130 feet from the basket, and he's like throwing it like a putt almost, but
mm-hmm.
it gets it to turn and then kind of glide and fade out. And I'll never understand how the man can be 100 feet away and just kind of, it's almost like an Anheuser shot, but he doesn't do a full throw. He's just kind of like a flick of the wrist, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I almost call those like a helicopter
Yeah, yeah.
type of thing because I putt from like anywhere from like close to 100 in. It's just my putt stroke changes a little bit, but if somebody, I always say this because some people be like, "That's kind of like a half throw." I'm like, "Well, if you're going to call a jump putt a putt, I'm going to call this my putt because I'm not reaching back. Like
True. Yeah.
I'm still in a putter stance. I look at the basket the whole time, but I'll do it with an anti release. It's super high spin, so it'll
Yes,
be
you
like
do
a
it too. That's right. I forgot you do that as
I'll do
well.
that. I don't ever step through my lie unless if it's in 100 and I'm doing that. Like sometimes if it's 120 and maybe like a slight downhill or something like that. Because hole
Hmm.
15 at Warriors and hole the one next to the railroad tracks that's
Hmm.
downhill. Now I putt off the tees
That's awesome.
and I've almost aced them doing
Hmm.
that. But it's just a super wrist like snap spin
Hmm.
putt, and I just kind of barely draw back like that, and that's like one of my favorite shots because it's so accurate because it takes so much less body movement to do.
Right.
But that is a very useful shot that not a lot of people do because it takes a lot of spin. Like Simon's a really good spin putter and he can
Yeah.
putt far like that too. So it's a very
Hmm.
useful thing, and that's one of those things I developed because I developed it because jump putting I always was thrown off. Like if I tried to jump putt, I yanked them. So
Okay.
I might as well just pitched up under the basket because I was still going to be putting from 25 feet to the right
Hmm.
because I yanked it. So then I got really good at spin putting with them, and then I just started. And I think what helped me too was spin putting PA threes
Okay.
because they had less glide than
Hmm.
what other discs do. I got really good to where I could spin them, and I changed to a glidier putter, and now I can spin putt really far.
Maybe we can do a video of you teaching me that shot.
I could
I would
try.
love that because I'll say this: that course I played this weekend, there was a hole that, like I said, it's at an elementary school. It's mainly for kids. There was a hole that's 108 feet, and I didn't birdie it either time because
Oh
I'm
my
trying to
gosh.
do a throw,
A half
and
throw?
yeah, and I don't get it. I don't put anything on it because I'm just kind of trying to toss it, and then it just hyzers its way out, and of course I miss my putt both times. Shout out Jeffrey Stelly.
Shout out.
But
Oh
you know what I
man.
mean? So I love that. That's exactly what I told Amanda. I was like, I should just jump putt off of this tee and I would probably get it closer. But if I could do that little, just, you know,
Yeah.
you got to teach me.
I think if you're going to, it's going to be a tui.
Yeah, I
A
like it.
tui because something that's super glidey that
Hmm.
you can trust it. Because what I was doing for a while off of those tees would be like a polecat or something, and a tui is going to have a very similar flight to a polecat. Something that if you put it with a lot of spin on Annie, it's going to hold that for a
Hmm.
while. So that's a cool shot to have. I'll say mine,
Okay.
and mine is the same for you. And I think mine, I can do two levels like yours. It'll be kind of the same shot, but on a different level. So
Okay.
for me, my favorite shot in disc golf is a hyzer flip, just like you said. I
Hmm.
think it's just the best looking thing. Whenever you throw a disc and you're like, somebody might go, ooh,
Hmm.
and then they go, oh,
Yeah.
because then it flips up instead of hyzering out. It's that slow flip to straight
Hmm.
and just either finishes straight or for like me because I'm right-handed, finishes to the right. That's my favorite thing is to watch a disc and not a rollover,
Hmm.
a slow turn. I like my favorite one is whenever I throw it and it goes up to straight and somebody thinks that it's going to go straight and that's what it's going to do, and then after it goes straight for like 2 seconds, starts drifting to the right, and
Hmm.
they're like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Like that kind of shot is my favorite shot. And the higher level to that is the shot that some high level pros can throw. Is a hyzer flip, and high level pros that are got bigger arms than me that can throw more understable stuff than me, and they can get it to flip up after like 250 feet off a hyzer. It
Hmm.
goes like another 50 feet straight, and then somehow miraculously at like 300 feet or 350, it is just now starting to turn.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Like it's just a magical.
Hmm.
It's a magical looking flight. I think that's my favorite flight ever.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I love seeing that shot also.
David Dill did that a couple times when I was playing with him, and I was just like, "How are you doing that?" Because if I throw that disc, it is gonna turn quicker than what it is for you, even though I threw it on the same line. And you can throw like 100 feet further than me, and that's all pure um, angle,
Timing, timing and angle.
pure angle control. It's having
Hmm.
no off-axis torque,
Hmm.
having tons of power, and a lot of angle control. Because that off-axis torque is what's going to make a disc flip earlier and earlier and stuff. And it's just having a pure control over that. And it's so crazy to watch whenever somebody can throw like 450 or 500 feet on the regular throw something like that. And you're like,
Hmm.
how?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wanted to end on a question like that just to see if it was fun and have people think about it. Um, I think that's what we're going to call the end of the podcast. I want to thank everybody that's jumped in. Any of the comments that we didn't get to, I'm sorry. There's a lot of you, so I'm really thankful. So keep that up, no matter
Hmm.
what. Even if we don't get to your comments, we'll try to get to it next time. Um, share these out to you. Make sure you subscribe to Daddy Dope Disc Golf and to Baysinger's Disc Golf channel over here, doing
Thank you.
stuff all the time. Next Sunday, same time, we're going to be over on Baysinger's channel
Hmm.
with the whole discussion. So
Right.
if you don't have anything else, I'm ready to call it.
I don't believe so. Just once again, thank you to everybody who commented. Please like and share. go make sure you, if you're a Spotify guy, unlike myself, please go over to Spotify and download this stream once it's up. So,
Yeah.
thanks,
Oh,
Josh.
yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Till next time. Peace.
See you all.